Vishampate tadrupah maparam vasram pradurasi danekasha nana raga viragani vasananya thaivai prabho pradurbhavanti shadasho dharmasya paripalanat. So when she had her hands in the air, Dusasan saw the opportunity, so he grabbed the cheer and begins to pull. Now a sari is about 5 yards of cloth. So if you pull twice, 5 yards is gone. So Dusasan begins to pull. And the Mahabharata says that instead of the cloth coming off from the body of Draupadi, the sari begins to stretch. And the more it stretches, the more Dusasan pulls. He's pulling and it's stretching. But no matter how much he pulls, the sari does not come off the body of Draupadi. The sari remains on the body of Draupadi. And the Mahabharata says that Dusasan pulled for so long and so hard, he couldn't do it anymore. He fell down completely exhausted on the ground. But yet, nothing came off the body of Draupadi. She was completely covered by the end of the exercise. The Mahabharata says that Bhagwan Sri Krishna turned that 5 yards of sari into an infinite length of cloth. That no matter how much Dusasan pulled, he would never come to the end of that cloth. And that infinite length of cloth symbolized the infinite compassion and love of Bhagwan Sri Krishna for each and every one of us. Previously in the Mahabharata, Bhagwan Sri Krishna and Draupadi were in a sabha. They were in a gathering together. And Bhagwan Sri Krishna cut his finger. And everyone ran to get a doctor and a physician. Draupadi tore off a piece of her cheer, her sari, and bandaged the finger of Bhagwan Sri Krishna. And she created a friendship with Bhagwan Sri Krishna. And she fostered that friendship. And so now, when she was in need, in want, in dire straits, she could call on her friend Bhagwan Sri Krishna. And when she called on him, he responded. But I submit to you, devotees, you can't wait till you need a friend to make a friend. Right? You can't wait until you need a friend to make a friend. You must do it now. Because you might need a friend tomorrow. Ye manava papa kritastu sarvada sadarujaja jalatah bimargaga krodhani dagda kutalascha kamina saptaha yagyanatala punantite. Bhagwan Sri Krishna doesn't care what you've done. He doesn't care where you are now. He simply wants you to come to him, to create a relationship, and he will meet you halfway. And that is the benefit of a friendship with Bhagwan Sri Krishna. Prem to Vrindavan Bihari Lal ki
Jai. तुमने हमारे भी दुख हरो दुखा और हमारे भी दुख हरो
Now, devotees, for the next few minutes, we're going to talk about Advaita philosophy. Advaita philosophy is very important. First and foremost, Advaita philosophy governs this Bhagwat Puran. It is one of the main teachings of this Bhagwat Puran. And it is important in the sense that it talks about our connection with God, our relation with God. How is man and God related? What is our relationship? What is our connection? The Advaita philosophy discusses that. Now, to really appreciate Advaita philosophy, we're going to talk about Dwita and Advaita, right? So when we talk about how are man and God related, in Hinduism there are two main philosophies, Dwita and Advaita. Dualism and non-dualism. Dualism says that man and God are separate. Man and God are independent. Non-dualism, Advaita, says that man and God are the same. And so we're going to talk about these two philosophies and what it really means for us. Now, of these two philosophies, Dwita and Advaita, dualism and non-dualism, the eldest is dualism. And dualism says that man and God are separate. Man and God are independent. And the analogy that they give is the kumhar and the pot. A kumhar is a pot maker. It's a person who makes clay utensils. That's a kumhar. So a kumhar will come along and find some clay. He'll take some clay and he'll make a pot or a burden, and then he will sell it, right? And because the kumhar, the pot maker, and the clay are separate, and the pot comes from the clay, the kumhar and the pot are separate. They are independent. So under dualism, God is the pot maker and man is the pot. And just as the pot maker and the pot are separate, man and God are separate. So dualism says that man and God are separate. Now, Hinduism is a very logical and scientific religion. It deals in logic and science. And Hinduism says that you can take something and you can change its form. You can take matter and you can change its form. Like you can take water, a liquid, you can boil it and make it into steam, or you can freeze it and make it into ice. But you can't create and destroy matter, right? You can take matter and change it from one form to the next, but you can't create and destroy matter. So the question that Hinduism asks, if God, man and God are separate, where does man come from? What is the origin of man? What clay does God use to create man? In other words, how did God create man? If you can't create something from nothing, if you need something to change its form, where does man come from, right? Because you can't create something from nothing. You need something to change its form, right? Hinduism says, or Dwita philosophy, dualism says, that along with God, there existed the separate matter. And God took the separate matter, He fashioned the universe, and He fashioned all of these souls. And because God and that matter are separate, and become the separate matter, we come from the separate matter, we are separate from God. So dualism says that man and God are separate entities. Advaita philosophy, which governs the Bhagwat Puran, says that man and God are the same. That man and God are one. And a good analogy to describe Advaita philosophy is the ocean and a wave. When the ocean extends itself, when the ocean projects itself, it creates the wave, right? A wave is an extension of the ocean, right? When the ocean increases itself and extends itself, it forms the wave. And so the wave is an extension of the ocean. Likewise, man is an extension of God. God is the ocean and man is the wave. We are a projection. We are an extension of God. Two very important things about the ocean and the wave. When the ocean creates the wave, the wave and the ocean remain connected. They are never separate. You cannot have a wave that is disconnected from the ocean. A wave is always connected to the ocean. And number two, the ocean uses its own body. The ocean uses its own water to create the wave. Right? Because the same water that's in the ocean is the same water that creates the wave. There's no difference between the water. They're the exact same. Likewise, man is an extension of God. And just as the ocean and wave are connected, man and God are always connected. Just as the ocean uses its own body to create the wave, likewise, God uses his own body to create man. And so man is an extension of God. Na jayate mriyate va kadachan na bhutva bhavita va na bhuya ajo nitva shashyato yang purano na hanyate hanyamane sharire. And if we are an extension of God, what does that mean about our true nature? Who are we really if we are an extension of God? If we are an extension of God, our true nature is divine. We are not humans having a divine experience. We are divine beings having a human experience. The true nature of man is divine. Existing within each and every one of us is the Jivatma, the individual soul. Ishwar Ansa Jiva Avinasi. And what is Jivatma? The Jivatma is a spark, an offspring of Paramatma, of God. We all have God existing in each and every one of us in the form of the Jivatma, the individual soul. If God were a divine sun, every ray projecting from that sun would be a Jivatma, an individual soul. The Gita, Bhagwan Sri Krishna says, Samam Pashyati Sarvatra Samvasthatam Ishwaram. He says, Bhagwan Sri Krishna says, I exist equally in all living creatures in the form of the Jivatma, the individual soul. I exist equally in all living creatures. The important word here is sam. The word sam means equal. And what this means to say is God is in all of us equally. He is not more in you and less in me. He is not more in me and less in you. He is in all of us equally. He is not more in the big elephant and less in the small ant. He is equally in the elephant and in the ant. So if we recognize that God is in all of us in the form of the Jivatma equally, it means to say that we have to have a sense of equality when we look at our brothers and sisters. It means our treatment of our brothers and sisters must be equal as well, right? And devotees, let me ask you, what more of a debated topic is there in today in America than the idea of equality? The Declaration of Independence says, we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. The concept of equality is a foundation built by the early Americans. And here we have been discussing it for thousands of years. And no more is this idea of equality prevalent than here today in America. Everyone is looking for equality. The women in corporate America are looking for equality. They're trying to shatter the glass ceiling. They want to get the same pay as men for doing the same work that men do. Minorities in America don't feel that they're being treated equally. They feel that they're being singled out and not given the same equal rights as non-minorities. And so the idea of equality is a very practical one. And so when we ask ourselves this idea of Advaita philosophy, that God is in all of us equally, that our nature is divine and not human, what does that mean? It means that we are all equal and that we should all have this sense of equality in us. That when we look to our brethren, our brothers and sisters, our treatment of them should be equal as well. Tulsidas gives one of the best analogy of equality. Jai Ram Shri Rama, Jai Jai Rama, Shri Rama Jai Rama, Jai Jai Rama. Thank you for the water. It's very warm up here where I am, by the way. So we're looking at this concept of equality, which comes out from Advaita philosophy. And how do we put this concept of equality into practice? I'm good, thank you. Thank you very much. In the beginning of Ramayana, Tulsidas says something that we might find a bit strange. Bandau santa sajjana charana, dukprada ubay bicha kachu barana. He says, as I begin writing this Ramayana, I begin by bowing not only to the saints and sages, the good, but I also bow to the wicked as well. Now, to say that you bow to the saints and sages, it makes sense because these men are very intelligent. They give us guidance and wisdom through the scriptures. They spend their life trying to uplift humanity. So to say that you bow to a saint or sage, it makes sense because these are great men. But to say that you bow to the wicked, that one doesn't really make too much sense, does it? So Tulsidas goes on to say, the only time a saint will give you any sort of grief is when you depart their company. In other words, as soon as you meet a good person, you feel uplifted. And the only time you feel bad, or the only time a good person causes any sort of grief is when you depart their company. Tulsidas says, but the moment you meet a wicked person, that is when the grief begins. So Tulsidas knows the difference between good and bad, and he lets us know that. But he goes on to say, I have great love for my God. And I recognize that God is in all living creatures in the form of the Jivatma. And I have so much love for God that not only do I love Him in the good, but I love Him in the wicked. Because the same God that I love that is in the good is the same God that is also in the wicked as well. So if I love God, if I truly love Him, I love Him not only in the saints and sages, but I must also recognize and love His presence in the wicked as well. And so that is a great example of equality. If you recognize Advaita philosophy that man and God are one, that man is an extension of God, you have to recognize that God exists in all living creatures. And if you have love for God, you have to have love for humanity. Because humanity is nothing more than a projection and extension of God. Prem to Vrindavan Bihari Lal ki
Jai.
Now, devotees, I was told this morning that I have to occupy a certain amount of time here on the Singhasana. So, give me a few more minutes. And I'm going to relate to you something that I find very interesting and something that I loved researching, something that I researched when I was in India, and I think that you'll appreciate it as well.